Hey y'all, welcome to Big Texas Bossin, the show that spills the Texas tea on bossing up, tossing coins, and living your biggest and best life on your own terms. I'm your host, Lalanii Wilson Jones.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin with Lalanii Wilson Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin Up.
Now y'all know, we can't boss up big style, spilling all this Texas tea and not throw a few curveballs and drop a few bombs here and there. My wild card segment affords me the perfect opportunity to go all the way there with my audience. I'm all about setting and exceeding expectations, but I do have a thing for the element of surprise and keeping folks on the edge of their seats. This comes naturally to me, and you see it in almost everything that I deliver. Honestly, I do get a kick out of delivering wild cards that come off of the cuff. Trust me, fans and foes are watching and listening anyway, so I might as well give them something else to talk about and aspire to. Our wild card segment introduces, explores, and investigates unexpected people, issues, and ideas. The tea is so hot on our wild card segment that I'm not spilling a drop until you tune in and get it for yourself. You will definitely not want to miss it, and you'll want to discuss it with someone while watching the wild card segment because you'll find the guests intriguing. Subscribing and watching us on our Big Texas Bossin YouTube channel is mandatory. Please follow us on our socials at Big Texas Bossin and visit our website, bigtexasbossin.com. Stay locked into Big Texas Bossin to see what else I have up my sleeve. You just don't know. I'm very excited to welcome a fellow Texan and female entrepreneurial phenom, Dr. Velma Trey Ham. Dr. Trey Ham is the epitome of Big Texas bossing, y'all. She's the brilliant and beautiful serial entrepreneur and award-winning CEO of Thinkzilla, who's been featured in Forbes, Rolling Out, Fox, and the visionary behind Millionaire Mastermind Academy. Heavy, Dr. V, heavy. Let's discuss your journey to Thinkzilla, starting with your upbringing in Houston, Texas, your education and training ground, and lead into the Millionaire Mastermind Academy.
Yeah, well, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. It's always an honor to be talking to and working with Texas bosses and people from Houston, Texas, the great state of Texas. So I'm excited to be here today. So thank you for having me. So born and raised in Houston, Texas, went to Jack Yates High School. I have my bachelor's degree from Texas Southern University, HBCU. Have been in Houston really all of my life, up until 2016. So pretty much, my journey has been entrepreneurship. I have had two jobs my entire life. I worked for Google for 9 months. Then I worked for a segregation firm for a year and a half. From that, I decided, I was going to pursue entrepreneurship. So my first three companies failed early on in my entrepreneur journey. And I decided that I wasn't going to give up. So everyone thought I was crazy. Hey, Velma, you need to get a job. I was like, nah, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to use the failures from the companies to continue to go and grow. And so I did just that. And so my fourth company was highly successful. I ended up selling it. Then I started a fifth company, which was successful as well. And then I was able to sell it. And then I transitioned to my sixth company, which is Thinkzilla Consulting Group. In November will be 9 years. We are now in 4 major markets. We still have an office in Houston, Texas. We have an office in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a satellite office in Los Angeles. And we have now just expanded to Phoenix, Arizona. So we do now have a headquarters here in here in Phoenix, Arizona. Millionaire Mastermind Academy was birthed 3 years ago with the mission to end poverty through entrepreneurship for women worldwide. So I do have a passion in helping women and helping people to understand their greatness. One of the things I do realize is that In order to get out of poverty, there are only two ways out of poverty, right? Way number one is through ownership, and way number two is through entrepreneurship. If you're not an owner of anything, or if you're not in entrepreneurship, there's no way out of poverty. And so when you think about systemic issues and what will we leave our children's children, and what what do we want the next generation to be able to do? So my entire life is kind of built around that. So I have a desire and I have a purpose to help people to rise above poverty. And so that is how I am here today and have done some of the things that I've been able to do.
Right. That is amazing. Now, tell us how your third ward culture in Houston, Texas, led you to say, hey, I can do this. I know that your stomping ground was TSU, and so I know what they instill. But talk to the audience, for those of us who may not know, how big was your culture and your upbringing to your success?
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. And oftentimes I talk about, my early upbringing. My mother was a drug addict, and she's been clean and sober now for 20 years.
Congratulations.
But for the most part, thank you. I tell her that all the time. I'm very happy and proud for her. So, I had a very troubled childhood, and I'm actually the first generation entrepreneur. I'm the first generation millionaire. I'm the first generation that has left my hometown. So, the journey has not been easy at all. And I believe that is really what has inspired me to be and do what I do today. Because a lot of people give up at the first sign of adversity. A lot of people give up when, things don't go their way, or when they feel like they don't have the value to offer the world. People give up. But for me, I realized that my end was not going to be like my beginning. And it wasn't how I started, but it was going to be how I finished. And that if I could take along as many people as possible along the way, then everything else would be okay. And so, coming up in such a very, very humble beginning, it has been very challenging. And every day, is a day that, I truly thank God for allowing me to make it out, of the hood. I'm from Third Ward, Houston. I still, that's the root of me. That's just who I am. I'm from the hood. I'm always gonna, claim I know I'm from the hood. So that ain't gonna never go nowhere. I do good business, but at the end of the day, I'm a hood chick, So,
right. So you still gonna eat at the chicken spot and the cookie spot in Third Ward, right? That's you?
When I go when I go to Third Ward, I'm still eating at the hood spot, okay? Because it's not about leaving everyone behind. It's about elevation. And for those that want to come along, then you have the tools and the resources to be able to help them along their journey. I honestly feel that if I had a me when I started my entrepreneur journey, I would be much further along right now. But it's okay. So I just became the person that I wanted to see other people to become. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes sense. And I love what you said about being a generation cycle breaker by going to college and by doing the things that you've done and becoming your own boss. But we need to look at the transition of Thinkzilla, because I think that's amazing that you're in 4 separate markets and you're still rocking it. So tell us a little bit about what Thinkzilla does, and tell us how you got to be in 4 markets and what your vision was when you saw, I'm going to leave Houston, Texas and do this in the other areas, Atlanta, LA, and Phoenix.
Yeah, so, when I actually left Houston, I left Houston, I was doing great things there. I went through a divorce, and I just really wanted to start my life over. So in that, I moved to Atlanta, and so when I started Thinkzilla working with smaller businesses, helping them with their marketing and their PR strategies, helping them to grow, to build and scale their company. So I still have a passion for small businesses. So over the years, I have evolved into the private and the private and public space. Whereas now I am working, with federal government entities. I'm working with private companies, with corporations on their diversity and inclusion metrics. So how does all of that feed together, right? So for me, I still have a heart to help small businesses. And so if we're going to get out of poverty, small businesses need the resources to get out of poverty. They need the resources to scale and build their company. So in the diversity and inclusion programs that I actually build for corporations or public entities, these programs feed into the small business space. So for instance, corporations get they have a budget to work with minority-owned small businesses. It's called part of their social responsibility programming. So what I do is I create the infrastructure for those programs, and I connect small businesses to these entities, solving a problem for small businesses and also solving the problem for companies in the public and the private space. So that's how Thinkzilla has evolved. We just did a partnership with Arizona State University, where we're going to be working on a lot of their diversity inclusion metrics. So I'm excited. I still get an opportunity to work with small businesses, but I am also being able to solve a problem with helping larger companies to connect with those smaller businesses, because oftentimes small businesses, they don't know how to quite articulate themselves. They don't know how to, they don't know how to have the proper infrastructure for their company. Just like this PPP thing that just so many small businesses did not get an opportunity to take advantage of the PPP because why? They did not have the proper infrastructure. So I want to make sure that going forward, that business owners, the small business owners, solopreneurs and entrepreneurs have a seat at the table by having the access to the knowledge and the resources that they need to learn, build, and scale their company.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And that's so important in the business community because, as you said, a lot of the smaller organizations and individuals did not get the opportunity to take advantage of the funding that was available. Yes, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Millionaire Mastermind Academy, the women that you serve, and your lectures that you do from there. Let's talk about that and how you've served and what it means to give back, because I feel like that's your giving back, to the community and to really the nation, because anyone can take advantage of your academy. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Millionaire Mastermind Academy is like my baby. Yes, it is philanthropic for me. However, it is a passion point for me. I really have a passion for women. I believe that women are trailblazers. I believe that women are innovators. I believe that women have the capacity and the know-how to build things. So when I started Millionaire Mastermind Academy, it was because a lot of women would come to me for mentorship. And being a busy person, you don't have time to mentor people, one person at a time. And a lot of people say, you should get into business coaching. And I'm like, you know what? There's too many coaches out here. That's people out here calling themselves business coaches. They don't have any credentials to be teaching anybody anything. So I do not want to align myself with them, calling myself a business coach. So I decided that I was going to start something that would allow me to help women. So when I started, having the monthly economic empowerment event, it wasn't a nonprofit at the time. At the time, I was wanting to just, inspire and empower women. So it went from, the first event being 30 women that was in attendance. And to fast forward, there have been more than 5,000 women that have attended. In, monthly events of, people, 200-300 women would show up to these events. And so from there, I realized the that there was a greater purpose and a greater calling. So I started a nonprofit organization, 501c3 organization that empowers women to rise above poverty through entrepreneurship. So through Millionaire Mastermind Academy, we have business development programs, we have entrepreneurial training, we have access to capital, we have an accelerator program, which is a 13-week entrepreneur program that helps women from understanding their why all the way through launching a successful company. Just on yesterday, we had a SBA presentation. We have a partnership with SBA where the SBA was actually teaching the women how to structure their business to do business with the federal government. So the purpose of the Millionaire Mastermind Academy is to rise above the systemic barriers, allowing women to have a seat at the table, allowing women to access to business development training and tools that could help them build their economies, that could help them create job opportunities, that could help them be a better society and leave something for their legacy. And then the information that they learn, they can transfer it. So I always say this is not just information, but it's impartation for transformation, because a lot of people are doing a lot of talking, but people are going around in circles, but nobody's going nowhere. So my whole desire is when people come into contact with me, they're going to leave better than they came across my path. And so that is ultimately my overall goal, and that's what I strive for in every relationship and in everything that I do.
To believe if I can't make your life better or be a positive influence in your life, then I don't need to be in your life. So it sounds like that's your living motto as well. Yes, and you are also known as the Pivot Queen. Pivot, yes. Can you tell me about your book, When God Says Go?
Yeah, so When God Says Go is, so when I left Houston, went through a divorce, kind of just, started my life over. And, I had a car crash that should have ultimately ended my life. I was, driving. I was hit by a semi-tractor truck in Atlanta. And when I was hit by the truck, it spun me around in the middle of traffic. Then I was hit by another car, and my car was totaled out. The airbags deployed, everything. And all I remember at the time, I heard people screaming, "Is she alive?" I was taken to the hospital by Lifeline. And I remember waking up and I heard the doctor told me, "Velma, I don't know how you survived this accident, but, you don't even have a scratch on you." And I was like, wow, that was like my rebirth. I felt like I had to spiritually die in order to live,
Right. That was your affirmation for life.
That was my affirmation for life. Because when you're not, every day that you wake up, it's a day that you know that there's purpose, that God still has a purpose for your life. If you woke up today, there's a purpose for your life. So when I survived that accident, I realized that I had a greater purpose for my life. And it did not start with me, because your purpose don't start with you. Your purpose always starts with what are you doing to impact the greater good of other people, And so from that was my pivot, that was my rebirth. And that was, at that moment, I decided that I was no longer going to live for Velma, but I was going to live for what God wanted me to do. I was going to live for, serving other people. Now, does that make me perfect? Absolutely not. Perfection does not exist. But I'm very clear as to what I'm here for. So that is what When God Says Go is all about, turning your storms into an unshakable relationship with God, leaving everything behind.
Excellent points. You recently hosted an economic empowerment discussion on entrepreneurial expansion. What were some takeaways from that event?
Entrepreneurial expansion. Some of the takeaways were Number one, building a business that will outlast you. Number two, having systems and processes in place so that you can scale. Most small businesses, they operate as a 1 or 2 person show. So they never build the right systems. They never build the right processes to scale their company. So that was a takeaway. For myself, it was a big takeaway because people always wonder, how do you do so much? I have multiple companies, but I also have a team for those companies. I put the right processes in place. I put the right systems in place. A system is a repeatable process that works over and over and over again that produces results. So those are the main takeaways from the Economic Empowerment Expansion event.
That's awesome. And a little birdie said that I was talking to the next Oprah. I'm not exactly sure if what's in the works, but I need to know about your vision to own your own network and about the concepts of your new talk show.
A little birdie. Who's a little birdie?
A little birdie tweeting in the air.
So, I've been speaking that into existence for a very, very long time. I believe, it's just time for new things.
Right.
So I said I'm going to be the next Oprah. But, not only am I going to be the next Oprah, but I want to be a better version of Oprah. I want to do it better. I want to do things different. Oprah has done an amazing job. She's an amazing person. She's a trailblazer. She's paved the way for so many women, so many people. And I love her. She's been a mentor from afar. Right. But, I want to do things a little different. So I created my Millionaire Mindset talk show that empowers entrepreneurs and women through candid conversation. It's uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. And
can you give us an example?
Yeah. So an example. So, for instance, I had a supply diversity person on. I interviewed and I asked them, what are y'all doing to help Black people? How are you doing it? Why are you doing it? And I dig very deep to the core of things to really understand the thought process behind some of the operations and things that a lot of these people are doing. Those are not comfortable conversations to have. Right. On the receiving end and also on the end of being the interviewer and the person that's sitting there. Because again, a lot of this is systemic. So that is an example of, an experience.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. How can aspiring businesswomen and bosses keep in contact with you and the Millionaire Mastermind Academy? Yeah.
So I am on Instagram. I'm Velma_Trayham, Trayham. Millionaire Mastermind Academy. They can join our mailing list. It's millionairemastermindacademy.org. We're also on social media, Millionaire Mastermind Academy. And of course, you can join my mailing list on my website. It's velmatrayham.com.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, what would you say to the woman who wants to have it all?
The woman who wants to have it all?
Yes.
The woman who wants to have it all. Dominion is not a pursuit, it's a result.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. I would like to thank you for joining me today with my guest, Sakeysha Williams, who is a Baecation Designer and luxury travel industry professional extraordinaire. She has had a passion for travel all of her life, even majoring in a hospitality management program in college. She loves that she is able to provide tried and true recommendations to locations that fit the personality, budget, ambiance, and activity options that each client is seeking. She creates niche, glamorous, yet fun vacations and couples retreats to all-inclusive Caribbean locations and/or alluring U.S. destinations. Her goal is to help hard-working, melanated husbands and wives with children by designing their much-needed vacations that will allow them to reconnect with their spouse, relax, party, and let their hair down. Sakeysha is a specialist in high-end travel, post-pandemic travel trends, and what it means to be vacation like a boss. Welcome, Sakeysha.
Thank you. So glad to be here today.
Thank you. We are honored to have you. Now you have to tell us, what does it mean to be a Baecation designer? It's unique.
Yeah, so first, a vacation is a vacation that you go on with your bae or your boo. It is where you get to go and let your hair down. You get to reconnect, kind of remember why you were dating, why you got married in the first place. It lets you get away from the day-to-day. So me being a vacation designer, I sit down with my clients. I like to learn what their likes are, what they're expecting when they go on vacation, what their dream vacations are. So that way I can curate a package that is designed just for them, and they're going to have a great time. So my designing goes way beyond just booking you a flight. Like, I'm going to make sure you have an itinerary that you will never forget when you're there.
Oh, wow. Now that's wonderful. Can you give us an example of some of the vacations that you've designed?
Yeah, absolutely. Recently had a couple just come back from Punta Cana. So did a package for them. It was a birthday celebration. It was a surprise. So the husband reached out to me and wanted just to work. Didn't know where to start, didn't know what to do. So first we sat down and we talked about different destinations, what she may like, and then also getting what she liked to do for her birthday or what she liked to do while she's on vacation. So got all the details from the gentleman and basically just put this great package together. She was super surprised, super happy. I got a lot of pictures back from them, and that's just one of the most recent examples. I have someone going to Cancun next week, so definitely just enjoy doing that and doing the research and putting something together that they'll never forget.
All right, that is awesome. That is really well. So I heard that if folks are looking for the cheapest options or seeking to travel ball on a budget, that you're not the girl. Tell us a little bit about what your package designs cost and how much someone could expect to spend on a vacation.
So the prices range, but I'm not going to be your cheapest option. You have your online travel sites for that. So if someone's looking for a DIY trip or they're just looking for the cheapest way to get somewhere, they're definitely going to be better options. I'm not just going to be providing you again with just a flight and just a room. I'm taking everything that you've told me and I'm putting a package together. So if you're looking for just a cheap all-inclusive route, they're out there, but I'm very selective about where I send my people. First, I like to send you to places where I've tried. If I haven't tried it, I'm going to do my research to make sure that it fits certain parameters, because I don't want anybody just, staying someplace where they're going to come back complaining about it. So again, there are cheap options out there, but for me, you're getting a full package. You're going to have your transfers included, so not just your flight. You're going to have your itinerary. You're going to have all your food, all your drinks. All of that is going to be included for you. And one thing that people overlook a lot too is travel insurance. That's going to be included for you. And a lot of people with COVID realize how important travel insurance is, because if you get stuck on resorts, then what are you going to do? So definitely making sure that you have the total package, and that's what I provide.
Absolutely. So can you give us an idea of the price range, maybe something from the cheapest to, I guess it could go endlessly, really, depending on what your options are.
It can go endlessly. I'll say high end if you're looking for maybe an over-the-water experience. I did used to work with a supplier recently you're looking an over the water experience with this particular supplier, you're looking at about 3,000, 4,000 ish a night. And that comes with the butler, that comes with the work. And again, there are even more luxurious packages that you can get in addition to that. On
now,
the lower
how many
end,
nights is that, Sakeysha? How many nights at $3,000 to $4,000 a night? I mean, I don't know if I could get there, but one night might put me out.
No, but once you do it, you will never. Look, save up for it. You can do it. You have to stay at least 3 nights.
Okay.
You have to stay at least 3 nights. It is a bucket list thing. I definitely highly recommend it, but I don't want to give anyone the impression that that's all I'm selling. No, that's higher end. But if you're just looking for just a getaway for like a birthday or just because, I would say on average for a great vacation, again, including all the things that you want in your vacation, you're looking at least about $1,800, and that's for the couple.
Oh, so not per person, that's per couple.
No, that's per couple. Even at $3,000, I said that was for the couple. That's not per person. So,
okay.
That's another thing that I do take in consideration too when we're doing my discovery call. I find out what your budget is. So not only your likes and your dislikes and things like that, I'm also finding out your budget, because I'm not going to come out and propose this over the water bungalow for you if that's not in your budget. So I'm only going to give you what is in your budget, but I'm going to make sure it's fitting all of the parameters that you give it.
Okay. Why did you choose the luxury travel industry when you could have went 1,000 different ways? And in addition to that, people do not typically have the custom service that you offer now. You know, it is pretty much a run-of-the-mill. I'm going to call this travel agent, or I'm going to call, Norwegian or the cruise line or whatever. I'm going to call American myself. I'm going to book my hotel. But you're a one-stop shop. So what made you get back to the basics of providing good travel agent service? And what made you specialize in luxury?
Yeah, my passion has always been travel. What made me get into luxury is, trust me, I've tried it all. I've got my bachelor's degree is in hospitality management. So when I graduated in 2006 from college, I jumped in the hospitality industry. I started selling travel then, like 2007, and I was more of an order taker. So people say, "Hey, Sakeysha, I want to go to Savannah for the weekend, look for a room." And I spend hours curating this room for them, and then they say, "Oh, I found something cheaper online." And I've been price shopped like that for years, and that's why I've been in and out of, working full time and then going back to travel. But travel has always been my passion. And honestly, after working for the previous supplier, it really just did something to me. Like, I really want my people to experience luxury. And what I had to learn was luxury does not necessarily mean stuff. That's what I always thought. Like, okay, I don't want to go there because, it's going to be stuffy. It's going to be boring. But I promise you that is not the case. So just knowing your client, knowing the different resorts, knowing the different cruise lines, I know where to send my client. And me having the knowledge and the many years in the industry that I have, I want to share that. I want to put that to good use. And I want to help people to experience travel, to experience the world, to get out and see new destinations and try zip lining, try these different things that you would normally not try. So for me, it's fulfilling. I enjoy doing it. I never get bored with researching and creating these different packages. The customer service part of it, me having the contacts that I have in the industry, me saving people the headache of having to do the research, or saving them the headache, and making them feel rest assured and making them feel relaxed about going on vacation and not worrying about, do I have this? Did I set that up? Do we have transfers from the airport? Like, for me, just providing that service is fulfilling, it's satisfying to me, and it's truly a passion. So, long story short, that's why I got back into travel, and that is why I am in luxury travel, because if you're looking for the cheap way, you can definitely find that online. But if you're looking for the curated way, the key way, then you come to the right place.
All right, Key. Well, one of the things that I've noticed you said quite a few times is for your people, for your people. Are your people responding, and are your people your biggest clientele, or how's that working out? Do we spend that kind of money on vacations? Have we moved
So
away from the once a year family trip, or what are we doing?
we're branching out. Now, I can't say that everybody's there, but especially with COVID, people are ready to go. They're ready to try new places. They've been locked in the house for a year. Even prior to that, when I was working, with the resorts, and I would go to places, people would respond to my pictures and ask where I was and want me to set them up on a trip, and they want to find out more about that destination. I will say there are several groups on social media of just melanated people just wanting to travel, creating these groups, and they're going out together. They're doing group trips. So absolutely, the industry is going. And then to have someone that can tell you where your dollars are welcome, that makes a difference. So for me, I will say I do see an uptick in melanated travel. And for me, I'm very passionate about melanated spouses and reconnecting. So that's kind of just why I am where I am with travel.
Okay, well, it definitely sounds like you've made a successful career out of that. Now, if I'm single, but if I wanted to boo up and go with my boo somewhere, where would you recommend? And it would need to be a discreet location. It just couldn't be something where everybody was there. I've done Paradise Island, the Atlantis several times, so I know what the Cove is all about. I need something a little elevated and more private for me and Bae, because Bae is not, somebody everybody needs to meet.
I understand that. So for you and Bae, I will make your vacation in either Grenada or St. Lucia. I love the Caribbean. The blues are just the hues of the water are amazing here. The reason why I say Grenada, the water, like you have different colors of sand. You have your pink sands in the area, you have your black sands. The island is beautiful. It's not an island that everyone is just typically flocking to. So it's serene, but they have a lot of fun. The food there is amazing. They have their own spices. They grow their own spices on the island. So the food that they're making you is created from their own spices. Even your rum punch is going to have spice in it. It's amazing. So I love Grenada. St. Lucia is another amazing island. It is the Hawaii of the Caribbean. You have your volcanoes there. Very serene, rainforesty, beautiful island. I would send you and Bae to one of those two. That would be the first place I would.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful. I will be in touch.
I'm ready.
Yes, okay. What I'd like to know is how COVID impacted you. Were you working during COVID at all, or, did it kind of die down and you had to rely on other strategies? And if so, what did you rely on?
So during COVID, I was working. I was working with the previous resort, and it was fulfilling. I will say that COVID did make a lot of changes in the industry. Resorts were shut down for a good little while. So with that being said, I was pushed. Like I finally got the drive and just that word that I really needed to branch out on my own, and that's what I did. Again, the passion was there, even while I was working for the resort, to sell it, like to help people to get to these islands. So it was always in me, and I missed selling travel. So COVID pushed me. It pushed me out of my element. It made me uncomfortable a little, but it pushed me to really follow my passion and to do the things that I really enjoy doing. So, COVID made a difference. COVID made a difference in travel, but I think I do see the benefit of it, and I see the positivity that's going to come from the year being in the house.
Right, absolutely. So for my audience members who may want to boss up like you and either establish themselves as a Bae-Cation or a specialty niche in the travel agency industry, what do you recommend, and how would they go about that?
I recommend, one, following your passion. Figure it out what it is that you like to sell. I tell this to a lot of people. Getting in the travel industry, it seems glamorous. It seems like, they just go on vacations for a living. I promise you, it's way more than that. You got to have patience. You got to be able to withstand the issues that do come about. I would say know what you like. So if you're a cruise girl and you really love selling cruises would be your thing. And knowing what your thing is, research that, study that, learn your suppliers, and don't try to learn everything. Trust me, I've been there, done that. You will go in a rabbit hole trying to learn everything. Don't do that. So just pick what it is you love, study it, learn that, be the specialty person in that, be the go-to person for that, and you'll go a long way.
All right. Well, that sounds wonderful. Thank you for dropping all of the Baecation nuggets. Lastly, give us your top 3 tips on how you Baecation like a boss.
1, communicate. Okay. So don't go on your vacation thinking that Sakeysha is going to do all of this with her husband, and her husband's like, no, that's not what I want to do. So come up with a plan, think about things that you both like to do, and communicate that. Also, while on resort, spend some time apart. So go to the spa, or, maybe he might want to get around to golfing, or maybe you might want to go play golf, but just get some downtime away from each other to just enjoy and do things that you want to do. And 3, be open-minded. Try new things. Like I mentioned earlier, do the zip lining, do the river tubing, do some scuba diving. I jumped in the water, but I didn't go all the way down. But, try it. So
Right.
Get out. You're in another country. You're in a different location. So why not enjoy what they do there and make memories, things that you'll never forget.
Right. Live our best life is what it sounds like.
You have to. Yes.
Right. Well, those are awesome nuggets. You've told us what a Baecation is, which thank you. I had not heard the terminology until you. So I appreciate that significantly. You've told us destinations and possible budgets that you can work with. And you've also shared with us how we could boss up if we wanted to become a specialist in the travel agency. And you told us how to be a Baecation boss. So we really appreciate you for all of the nuggets. I've got a little parting gift that you'll receive. Yes, I hope you like chocolate.
Oh, yes, thank you.
The Big Texas chocolate hat, cowboy hat, and you will receive that a little later in the week. So,
okay, great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's been fun.
And today on my wild card segment, I'm very excited to welcome celebrated brand guru, publicist, and storyteller, Trevion Davenport. Welcome. Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Awesome. Trevion Davenport is the CEO of prominent PR branding firm Trea Day Management and Publicity. She's guided the careers of multi-platinum and award-winning recording artists, including Gucci Mane, Chrisette Michele, Charlie Baltimore, Cash Doll, The Outlaws, and many more. Her talents extend to TV and film, music video directing, and producing. The Detroit wordsmith is also known as the Storyteller. She's penned and co-authored a number of books ranging from a how-to series for PR University, Living for the Sacrifice, a hood hero's guide to success, and urban fiction novel Sugar Mama, a Kehlani Jennings saga. Welcome, Trae, to Big Texas Bossin.
Thank you. I'm glad to finally be here.
Yes. I'm glad you could make the chair today. Awesome. Growing up in the Motor City, what role did this play in the woman and writer that you've become?
Wow. Like they say, Detroit versus everybody is not a t-shirt. A friend of mine, Nikki Gilbert, a famous person from Detroit, said that. And it's so true. Detroit is a very gritty place. Detroit is a very gritty, blue-collar kind of town. And you really have to roll up your sleeves and pull up yourself up by your bootstraps to make it there and, of course, to make it out of there. But I would say that growing up in the Motor City just taught me how to get it from the bottom up, to be quite honest. You know, a lot of us from Detroit were not born with the silver spoon. You know, we had to make it how we could make it, and we did, and we survived. And I will also say, coming from Detroit, I think a lot of people from the Motor City have style. You know, that's the illustrious hometown of just Motown music and Berry Gordy, and we have such a rich history in music and entertainment. So I do believe that also just contributed to my love for entertainment, and the woman that I've become.
Okay. Well, you had hard shoes to fill, but you've definitely walked your walk and walked the journey. Tell us, did you always know you would be a storyteller?
I would say that I've always been a storyteller, prior to me knowing that that's what I was. I was always the person who people would, even my brothers and sisters, now that I think about it, when it was time to pitch our shot to our parents for whatever it was, or put a spin on who broke the table, somehow I was always the one who would come up with what we would say and how we would say it and the right timing. Just as a child, that's how I behaved.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then through high school, a lot of my friends had just great talent, could sing and dance or whatever. I could do none of those things, even though I tried to do all of those things. But I was always the one who would end up speaking for everybody or pitching them, managing them, and that kind of thing. So I was a storyteller then. I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Okay. Tell us about some of your high school antics that failed.
High school antics that failed?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Well,
because you said you tried singing, you
Okay.
tried dancing,
Mhm.
all of that. So which part weren't you successful at? Because I heard you were a video vixen at one time.
well, video vixen, the failed attempts at being a video vixen came a little later. You mentioned
Okay.
high school,
Yes.
and I'll mention a couple of things that happened in high school that I think are significant. Well, first of all, I tried cheerleading. Okay, I was an actual cheerleader for my high school, Persian Doughboys, and I absolutely positively am just not coordinated. I look super cute in the uniform, and I really know that's why I got on.
Right.
I used to be super thin, I was just thin, and I was, flexible, but God knows I couldn't do a cheer or a flip, and I almost broke my tailbone. So,
wow.
Yeah, so that happened. So I could definitely call that a fail. But I still was in the photos and everything, and I was able to attend the games in the uniform. So to me, that was a win. Prior to social media, that was a photo op. Well, I'll say this though. And also in high school, I was the star of Grease. The musical Grease. Sandy,
Yes.
who clearly is supposed to be able to sing.
Right.
Olivia Newton-John. Well, certainly I couldn't sing a note, but I could act. And I took singing lessons. And my drama teacher, she loved me so much that I was cast as the lead. And I remember...
So you were Sandy in high school.
I was Sandy, hopelessly devoted to you, all the songs,
Right.
all the outfits. It didn't hurt that my mother made all of the costumes. She's a tailorist. But I remember she was there the night that I had to sing, and she was just so scared, but not like a normal mother would be excited. She was just scared because she knew I couldn't sing a lick. And was I going to humiliate myself? I'm pretty sure. But I was fearless for sure.
That's awesome. So tell us about your transition and what your journey was, to say the least. You started at one point and you're kind of transitioning to another point. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of your high profile clientele, because you've worked with artists that weren't in the bio. You've got Hoops. You've also got Michael Johnson of the Cincinnati Bengals. You have Breezy from Empire and All American. And you've worked with the Real Housewives of America. So between your repertoire, which Gucci Man, I don't think it's any secret that he did put out a song that included a verse about you. Let's talk about that.
I can't believe you want to go there, Lonnie.
And the controversy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, you asked a lot, and I'm going to attempt to backtrack and answer it in the way that you did, if I may. You asked about a transition.
Right.
So if I may begin with where it started.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So I graduated from high school with honors when everybody thought that I would be a journalist, and so did I, which is technically another form of storytelling. So that goes back to me not knowing that that's what I was, just kind of doing what I was good at, or what felt natural to me. So I received a full scholarship to Michigan State University, coming from Michigan, where I mentioned I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. Gritty, family had to struggle. So for me to get a full scholarship to this school was like a big deal. It was the first in my family. Everybody was so happy and everybody was so proud and put their little money together for me to go and get my bed and my TV and all of that. So this was like a big thing.
Right.
Well, the second year, I finished my first year there, did well. The second year, a girlfriend of mine, her name is Nikki Gilbert, who I went to high school with, called me. She had made the transition and moved to Hollywood. So Nikki calls and she's like, Trey, I need you out here. I need you to represent me. You belong in Hollywood. You can come live with me. This is where you should be. You don't have to pay any rent. You just need to get out here, girl. And I'm just standing looking out the window. It was so cold. Michigan is terrible in the wintertime. This was in the wintertime. This was like second semester of my sophomore year. And I said, you know what? You're right. And somehow I convinced my parents to let me leave college on this full scholarship.
Wow.
And to go pursue what was a dream. And I honestly, the dream wasn't even fully defined. I just felt a compelling drive to go there and to pursue some form of a career. I wasn't delusional. I wasn't going to be an actress or a singer or anything like that. But I just felt that I needed to be there, just like Nikki had suggested. And I'll say this, Lalanii. My father agreed to buy my ticket, but he wouldn't give me a dime more. My mother didn't have any money to give me. So I had $25, literally. And on the day that I went to the airport, I had 2 suitcases. These were like big suitcases. This is before they would really weigh your suitcases, because I just remember it being 2 gargantuan suitcases. And they only would let me take 1. And my father said, I'm like, but Daddy, the other suitcase is $25. He was like, well, you got $25? And I was like, no, that's my $25 just to get there. Or, in case anything happens, I can buy some noodles or whatever. He was like, no, you have to make a choice. You really need to think about what it is you want to carry into this next phase of your life. It better be important, whatever fits in that 1 suitcase. And I remember being there in the airport on the ground, like having to decide between my little dresses or my comfortable shoes or, whatever it was. And I mean, certainly I figured it out and I was so angry at him at the time. But as I have evolved as a woman, as an adult, as a businesswoman, I get it. And as a mother, I get it. I made that choice to leave that school. He wasn't going to make it easy for me. That was something that I had to do. So that was my transition, just so you know, from this trajectory of being a journalist and going to college and that kind of thing and at that time and moving to Los Angeles.
Wow, so that's profound. So you arrived at LAX with 1 suitcase to last you for the rest of your life. Start your new destiny.
Absolutely. And would not even change it.
Right.
I wouldn't even change a thing. And so
what did you work on for your friend Nikki Gilbert? What did you go out there and start working on?
Okay. Well, I'll say this. The picture that Nikki painted was not the picture that was the reality. It was a huge struggle. It was a huge struggle. We were very poor. We were broke. We were, it wasn't just that fabulous, like, hey, we're going to go to all these record labels and make it happen. None of that was set up. None of that was established. What I did end up doing, Lonnie, is I would find different contest and open mics, if you will, where she could sing. There was no doubt about her talent. Okay. So I knew that if we could enter her into some of these contests where she could win $50 or $100, that we would be able to eat. Right. And that's what I did. So I quickly became a manager. So it's on a low scale, if you know what I mean. It wasn't on like the big levels that
was your training.
That was my training ground. And believe me, it was a tough training ground. And it taught me to be very resilient and to have a thick skin and a not take no for an answer type of personality. So that's the work I did. Help my friend get jobs so we could go buy burritos at Ralph's Jr. and a cup of noodles.
Right. Well, take us from there to where you are now. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, sure. So I'll say this. 2 weeks later, we did have an apartment. I did have somewhere to live. We had it 2 weeks later. Right. I ended up getting a job at a production company on Wilshire Boulevard. So I was working and actually had a salaried position within 2 weeks of there. And I think at the time I was only 19 years old. Okay. So I became quickly involved. I mean, I was low level, you know what I mean, a PA working around, but I had a job and I learned about a video shoot that Bobby Brown and Ralph Tresvant was doing, and they were hiring extras. It just had come through like the production office, and I think it was like $75 for 8 hours. So I was able to get myself, Nikki, some other people. We needed that $75. Right. So we participated, and Nikki was somebody who sat at the bar. A couple of other people had their little roles. Well, I, as I mentioned, was super cute and skinny at the time or whatever. So I was automatically, you're going to be one of the video girls. You'll be one of the video girls. So I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm 19. I'm young. Let's see what it is.
Right.
So I went back where the video girls were, and everybody had to wear like a form of lingerie.
Okay.
Like lingerie. Oh God, I want to kill myself when I think about it. So had on this lingerie, right? So I'm sitting there waiting, and I saw this lady, Lonnie. This was pivotal. I saw this lady. She was walking around, and she was just, kind of bossing everybody and running stuff, and people were going to her and asking her questions, and even the artists, they listened to her, and she was giving them tips and, telling them what to do and what not to do. And so I'm like, who is she?
Right.
What does she do? And they were like, oh, that's Bobby's publicist, which was the first time I ever heard the word. I had never heard the word publicist. You don't hear that in Detroit, publicist.
Right.
We're in Hollywood, everybody's something like that. So that was the first day that I knew that I wanted to be a publicist. I identified with somebody who was bossing up, like Big Texas boss, and that's what she was doing out in LA. She was bossing up. So that day changed the trajectory of my life, and from that day I became Nikki's publicist and everybody else's publicist, and this person who I was being and didn't know what it was called. That's how I defined who I was or would be professionally.
Wow. Okay, you've spent so much of your life and your career as a publicist. What's compelled you to focus on writing and filmmaking?
Okay, well, working with artists, which is how I started talent, is rewarding and was rewarding, but it's also probably one of the most maddening and non-gratifying and slap in the face, experiences that any publicist will ever experience. And because a lot of times when you make these people famous, and that's really the definition of a publicist in essence, is just making people famous, as soon as they get to a certain level, they tend to think that they need to hire, honestly, somebody with blonde hair and blue eyes, or somebody who works in a big office, in Rodeo Drive. They don't seem to realize that person who put their blood, sweat, and tears into them and into their career and believing in them, even when they had no money, when they had, no clothes to wear, when you're borrowing jewelry and taking stuff back and helping to build this image, they tend to forget that and believe their own hype, and honestly, this had happened so many times, time and time again. And it became, it just came to a point where it became just not worth it to me, not worth it to my soul. And you mentioned Gucci Man, and I'll say this, and this is when storytelling became even more prevalent. I worked for a record label. My first job, Lonnie, in the industry was with Big Cat Records. Big Cat Records is based in Atlanta. Big Cat Records was the original home of Gucci Man, Rashida, who we know from Love and Hip Hop, yes. Atlanta. I love Rashida. And some other big talents, in the South. A lot of the Southern acts. Okay. And I was the director of communications, everybody's individual publicist, helped build those brands. Every Gucci Man's first interviews in XXL, Source, Vibe, you name it. I'm responsible for procuring for him and convincing to Source that he was the next thing to happen, next thing to blow. Well, Gucci was about to pop. His album was about to drop. He had this single called So Icy with Jeezy that was just getting a lot of controversy, and just the numbers were up. Radio was popping. And I get a call to the office that says it was the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department looking for Radrick Davis for he was wanted for murder. So I'm thinking that it's a prank. I'm thinking it, this, what I mean, like this can't be real, or whatever. And so we reach out to Gucci, who actually was in New York. He was just landing. I was headed there the next day. I had booked him on BET. He was about to literally blow up. This is, as a publicist, this would have been my first, BET booking and that kind of thing. Yeah, this was exciting for everybody, and especially for the record label, who had put so much money and energy and time into all their other artists. But Gucci was like the one. Everybody's like, this is our one. This is, our guy.
He was the premier.
He was the premier artist who, you know, all the blood, sweat, and tears was going to lead to his success. And so when we talked to Gucci, he said, I didn't know I killed nobody. They were trying to kill me. You know, he didn't say, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, he admitted that there had been an exchange of gunfire. So once,
like the night prior to him getting on the plane, and
it had been a couple weeks. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, it had actually been a couple weeks.
Okay,
it had been a couple weeks from prior to the incident.
Right.
And so we're all really shocked, if you will, that he's even corroborating any of this. We're like, what? You know, like, wait, this really happens? What are you talking about?
Right.
So of course we got him quickly with his attorney, Dennis Scheib, who is an amazing criminal attorney out of Atlanta.
Okay.
And of course, we went from his publicist helping to promote an album to becoming his crisis manager real quick. You hear me?
Certainly.
Yeah. And so, but basically he had a strong self-defense claim, just based on all the details. It's well documented. You know, if anybody want to look it up, it's you know,
it's there.
Public record. Yeah.
Right.
And so we got him back. We had to get him back to Atlanta so he could turn himself in, so that we could coordinate him surrendering himself. And I remember, Lonnie, I always been about a spectacle. So I'm like, okay, we're going to turn him in, you know, but we're going to turn him in how we want to turn him in. You know, we're going to turn him in, you know, and get a little PR out of this. Like, are you kidding me? We still have records to sell, right? Okay, we're bossing. We're bossing here. So we had this truck, like that rap truck, like a big rap truck, and the name of his album was called Trap House, Lonnie. So we had this big picture of this trap house, you know, with Gucci Man on it and everything, and we used that as the backdrop for the press conference. So I called a big press conference with all the news stations and everybody, because no matter what, this is who he was. He did an album called Trap House. At least if he's about to turn himself in for murder, we need to sell these albums. You know, that was my mindset at the time. And certainly I was there, you know, as a spokesperson for the label. And I said that, of course, we're very sad that there has been a loss of life. But, you know, at a time when he should be celebrating his album, you know, he's fighting for his life. He was fighting for his life in self-defense. And now he's fighting for his life for justice to be served. And we launched a big campaign, and people ended up coming forward as a result of the crisis management campaign that I laid out. And they came forward with so many details. It was a preponderance of evidence that was out there in the universe that would have never been even asked about had it not been for the campaign and the salaciousness of this press conference that ended up working in Gucci Man's favor. And within 7 days, they actually had to let him go.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was what a PR person does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What a storyteller does.
Right, a storyteller. So did he make the BET show?
He did make the BET. No. BET didn't know about that.
Okay.
They didn't know. He definitely still did the BET show. And then since then, of course, he's done every BET show, every stage. And he's probably one of the most famous and financially successful hip-hop artists in our time.
Right. So how did the diss in the song come along?
Well, Gucci was, at the time, I don't know how he is now because I haven't talked to him, but at the time, and I think a lot of young guys are in hindsight, I used to be a little more bitter about it or irritated about it than I am now, but he would jump around. You know, he would jump camps and things like that. He would, but again, like I said, he was way younger and there were so many options, and I don't know what was in his brain and in his mind and what he was going through. But at the time, he just jumped camp. And so the thing to do at the time was diss song. And he did a diss song, and he dissed the label that he was with, and I was down with the label.
Right.
Because, hey, my thing I'm very loyal, and I leave the dance with who I came, and I stayed with Big Cat Records, and so I was dissed. And as far as my sons and nephews were concerned, that meant that I was bona fide and on the map because Gucci Man had dissed me.
Right.
Thanks, Gucci.
Right, thank you. All right, well, let's talk about your writing career.
Okay. Great. Well, you know, just wanting to get away a bit from publicity and focusing on just the PR campaigns and things like that, which I still do for select people and select clients, you know, of course. I just started to hone more on my writing skills, and that started with PR University. I have a lot of knowledge in my field.
Absolutely.
A lot of knowledge. I have graduated over 247 interns in my PR University alumni program. They represent some of the country's top CEOs, top executives, and not just in entertainment, but in travel, in fashion and finance. And so I knew that I had a lot that I could share and a lot of wisdom that I could impart on young people. And so I started PR University, and I've written 16 how-to PR books. So it started with public relations writing, PR writing, resources, how-tos, webinars, and the like. And then I ended up just catching the attention of some of my former clients or people who maybe I wouldn't do publicity for, but I could help them write their books.
Okay.
And I've, been tapped to do that for several people. One in particular, Brian Maurice Brown, the CEO of B&B Entertainment, who launched the careers of Cash Doll, researched Charlie Baltimore's career, Brooklyn Queen, Breezy, and others. I wrote his book, Living for the Sacrifice, A Hood Hero's Guide to Success. And then, of course, I have been honored to be able to co-author Sugar Mama, aka Lonnie Jennings Saga, of course, with you.
Yes.
My dear
definitely.
friend and colleague and co-author. So we were able to connect, of course, as you know, because we met through publicity, you know, with your Mogul 247 company, and one of your artists needed a entertainment PR, a music publicist, right?
Right.
And that's how we met. But again, as I mentioned, like with Brian, we met, we connected, and then we started storytelling together. And that's typically how it happens.
Okay. Can you tell us about any new and exciting projects that you're working on with your writing?
Well, okay. I want to say that I'm very honored to be tapped to be writing the memoir for Trae the Truth.
Okay.
Trae the Truth is an incredible recording artist, humanitarian activist, Houston's hometown hero, who works tirelessly day and night to just give back, save lives, turn people's lives around, and just he even recently won the Billboard Music Awards Changemaker Award. He's highly decorated, highly respected, and for Trae to trust me and believe me, it's a tall glass to drink and swallow, okay, with Trae the Truth, because he is a workaholic. He's constantly doing more things, much like you know, the story always continues, the saga continues.
The saga continues.
But I will say that that I've interviewed at this point over 83 people for Trae's book, including I was honored to have done one of the last interviews of DMX before his passing. He had some really incredible things to share about Trae, as well as T.I., David Banner, Jay Prince, Lil Kiki, Millionaire, Paul Wall, Bun B. I mean, I don't even know. Just Houston's finest. I didn't get to interview Scarface. He's on our list, I believe. J. Cole and others. Right. And they all have incredible things to say about Trae. So for me, that is a very exciting project. That is still in the works.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like that is going to be grand. When can we expect that book to come out?
Did Trae put you up to that question?
No.
Oh, okay.
I haven't spoken to Trae. Don't know how to get a hold of him.
Oh, you can. I got you, girl. One thing I can say that I love about Trae, and I enjoyed about working with you, and I enjoyed about working with Brian, is that I feel like true geniuses, true creatives, true bosses are not necessarily in a rush for perfection of their stories being told. And Trae's not in a rush. I know he wants it to be, done this year, and I intend for it to be done this year, but his story is still being told.
Right. And for him, every day his story is evolving.
It truly is.
Because he is a social activist and very involved in the different things that are going on around the country as far as responding to the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as the fatalities at Black people at police hands. So.
Absolutely. And those things, of course, take precedence. And what I do want to mention, too, is that I'm also his publicist. I also handle a great deal of his PR. I'm not his only PR team member, but I do handle a great deal of PR for Trae. So like you said, when those things come up, we literally don't even talk about the book. We talk about the other matters at hand.
Absolutely. Well, there's so many things that I don't even know about you, and you're truly a boss. I've enjoyed having you on this lifestyle segment. As you know, here at Big Texas Bossin, we love to give gifts. All of our gifts are a gesture of appreciation for your time and you being here today, so that you can take something sweet home.
Bring it on. Let me see.
Yes, yes. So we have our traditional cowboy hat with our label on it.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I hope you enjoy that and treasure every morsel of the chocolate. Yes, please share with our audience how they can find you on your social media sites.
Sure, I can be found at Trey Davenport and Trea Day PR on all of my socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube platforms.
Okay, and can they just DM you if they want to find out about your services, or do you have a website?
They can just DM me, sure.
Okay.
Social media is fine.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That concludes this episode of Big Texas Bossin. I hope you all got the tea and really enjoyed it. You can follow us on all of our social medias at Big Texas Bossin, BOSSIN. And follow us on our website, www.bigtexasbossin.com. Y'all come back now.